Welcome everybody, great to see you all today. Small group today. We were just discussing the concept of story before Hendrik got something to drink. And he surprised us. It will be completely different than we all think of. So a big adventure for today. And I would like to welcome you all to the Light Warrior Collective. And as per usual, our dear host Inken, who has landed on our new home, is back home again. So she could kick it off.
Thank you very much, Ota. Yeah, like you said, I'm happy to be home, in my new home, but home with my bed. So very warm welcome also for me. I am one of your hosts of the Light Warrior Collective, always sending you my love and light from Abu Dhabi, and really appreciating this moment of connection with you and appreciating that there's always growing something new out of us. And I'm super excited today what Hendrik prepared for us, because I made my own experience about storytelling, having gotten the invitation to share my story. But Hendrik, he just now explained to us that I think today something is going to happen that we all didn't expect when we saw the title. So let's all be curious and open-minded and see where he's guiding us. Hendrik, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Inken. Yeah. Most of you know me. I guess I give a bit background still of where's this coming from, and then we're gonna I give you an idea how the pathway of today looks like. It will unfold. Something hit me this earlier today, so it will happen on the go. Just recently, I started calling myself one of the descriptions of who I am and what I do and what I'm bringing into the world. And one of the I'm testing out these days is story activist. This is a term a friend and a mentor of mine uses. She describes herself as a story activist and a story collector and a story sharer. She's Mary Ellis Arthur, who a lot of what I'm going to do today is coming from, and who I have the pleasure with co-hosting the Story Dojo, where we really dive into where's story now? Where's the story community today? Because story is often misunderstood, especially through business, and a lot has become about storytelling. And story is way more than just storytelling. There's also story listening. There's story witnessing. There's my individual story. Then there's the story we are together. There's, for example, the Light Warrior Collective story. There's a beginning story, origin story. There's the story of where we are as the Light Warrior Collective right now. There's a story where we as humanity are right now. There's a story where we're coming from, and a story we're living into. What story are you living into? What stories are you telling yourself from the future? And there's a story our bodies tell. While we walk through space, all of your faces tell a story in this moment right now. The way we stand, the way we walk. So for me, story is a fundamental human capacity. Once we invented language, we started sharing stories. That's how old story is. And story for thousands of years has been the way we learn and we share culture. The written word is only 3,000 years. Like writing things down and learning from books is very, very young compared to the history of us sitting around campfires, sharing stories, learning. All ancient wisdom was not transferred through written words. It was always shared through stories. And stories carry a lot of learnings and wisdom with them. If we listen beyond the words spoken and listen in between the words and the texture and the way of being that's transmitted. So story is unbelievably rich, and reducing it solely to storytelling or solely to my own story would not, feels for me not appreciative to the richness and the depth of the topic itself. And there's a lot that we can explore. What we're going to do today, I'm going to do a little exercise, a physical exercise with you in a moment to also keep the meditation part of what we're doing here alive, and also ground ourselves. Held by one perspective on story. And then we're going to go into breakouts, share in triads a bit, but not just share, but also listen and witness. And I'm going to speak more to that piece when we get there. And then we come back, and then since we're not such a big group today, I think it's beautiful that we're going to have a little circle. One of the most ancient ways of coming together as humans in a circle and listen to each other and share with each other. So we'll see where we get time-wise and what we will be able to do in this hour. But that's where I'm coming from. And as a story activist, there are two pieces to that. The word activist, for example, has this particular story in our today's culture. Activism is often against something, against capitalism, against this destruction of nature. And Mary Alice and I both are part of a movement in a way that want to reclaim that word and reclaim that story and say it's actually activating something. And if we are using activism as against something, we activate that energy against and this like destructive energy, which is important in the process. We want to activate the other side, like activate positivity again. So you could be a positivity activist by bringing more positivity in the world. You want to activate positivity. And by being a story activist, we want to activate the stories and the richness of it all. And the second part is hosting space for stories to be shared. Yes, an activator, the active part of the word. Barbara wrote there in the chat. So as a story activist, we invite with questions into space, and then people share stories. And this can be very different. There's so many different ways there can be rooms for success stories, of learning stories, and there's so much we can do. Exploring collective story. The story of the land, the geography of story is so powerful. It's the story of the land you're on. Because that's there, if we notice this or not. So yeah, I'd say we go into the little first exercise for today to arrive and land, and then I'm going to frame the piece before we go into the breakout. But for this, I'd invite you to get your hands out. All of you have some sort of these beautiful pieces of body that are traveling with us, and then just take a look at your hands. And then just ask yourself, what's the story of your hands today? Just look at them, just notice your hands, and just, when is the last time you've really looked at your hands? You can start touching them a bit and just feel that touch, maybe give them a little massage. Just appreciate your hands. And they've been with you your entire journey until now. What have they touched? How have they touched? And bring them together, crossing them here. and then press. Press. And just notice the sensation. When was the last time you've noticed that sensation in your hands? That feeling, how they feel right now. Go up to the middle piece. Just press there. Just feel into that sensation. Have you felt your hands this way before? And then start with your little pinky on the bottom there, the in-between part, between your joints, the bottom part. Just press that a bit. And take a breath in and a breath out. The beginning of your little pinky. It has been with you. The beginning of your pinky has been with you your entire journey. And go up into the middle piece. And just notice the sensation of pressing that and holding that. And to the tip, the end of your pinky. And then just go in your own speed, finger by finger. Just start at the beginning there of your finger. In between the joints. We often think about joints and stretched joints, but when are we appreciating and noticing those parts in between? Getting really present. Which keys on your keyboard throughout the last years have these fingers touched? How have they moved? What messages have they written? Which other hands have they touched and connected with? Which text messages have you sent with those fingers and hands? What have you used your hands for? You can also switch the hand and go to the other fingers and just really notice the difference between the beginning of your fingers, the middle, the end. You can give your palms a massage, or go on the other side and just go in between those strings into the middle part here. Really connect with where your hands have been. Appreciate them for the time they traveled with you. All the experiences they granted you, they co-created with you. The tears they wiped away from your face. The clapping they did for celebrations and appreciation. All the people they're touched, all the things they're touched on your journey. and how much there have been part of your story. How much are the hands? How much are your hands part of your story? How much have you acknowledged your hands as part of your journey? How much are your hands going to be part of the journey ahead? Hands are story too. They carry story. Already a very different way of looking at story. With that, I just wanted to ground us. You can also notice the difference now to before. Take a look again at your hands. What are you seeing now in your hands? They're so beautiful. All of them. With that, I want to transition into the second part of today. A little reframing around story is what we all are very familiar with. Stories have beginnings, middle, and ends. Beginnings are showing up. We see that there's something new coming, something new wants to be born. It's like seeds in the ground that want to sprout. And then they sprout up, and then it gets really messy, and you don't really know what's happening and how those trees or flowers are actually growing and what they're becoming, which seeds are they sprouting into, and they're coming out of the ground, and then they're growing, and it gets wide, and then little leaves are coming out, and they bloom, and they get big until they become solid trees or solid flowers. They really are there. And we really are in a matured story, something that's really there with us. And then they die. Stories come to an end, things that come to an end, maybe a time period in our life that comes to closure. Someone passing away. An old story we tell about ourselves coming to an end, slowly ending. And an extension of this is that every beginning has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's the beginning of the beginning, the middle of the beginning, and the end of the beginning. Where we come over to the beginning of the middle, and to the middle of the middle, to the end of the middle, to the beginning of the end, to the middle of the end, and the end of the end, when it's really over. And like our fingers, this all happens at the same time. Some stories in our lives are in the middle, the messy middle, how we like to call it, and they're like, we don't even know what's happening here. It's just happening and unfolding. But other stories are beginning. Some stories are ending at the same time as new stories are. Other stories are ending, some others are beginning. I recall when I entered university, I already started thinking about what am I going to do next. So the story of me being a university student was coming to an end, where I always started looking for the seeds of what are the stories I was living into. So we're in all places at the same time. There's this beautiful quote, like every story has a beginning and a middle and an end, not necessarily in that order. My invitation to you is just to sense in for a moment in silence. Where are stories? Where are you? Where are the stories for you right now? What stories pop up for you where you are at the beginning, maybe the middle of the beginning, the end of the middle, where it's almost about to feel like it's gonna be an end? Where are stories that are ending? And just sit with that for a bit. Listen inside. Where do you feel the sensations of things starting? Where are you in the messy? In the middle of something that is happening right now, and it's not really a beginning anymore, it's not ending, it's just you're in it. You're in that story. And the uncertainty of how it will unfold, what the next page will bring of that chapter. And where are you coming to an end of a story? My invitation now to you is to go into breakout rooms. And we're going to focus on the messy middle. I'd like to have stories, beginning story and end stories, and I invite you to start sharing this. Like, what stories are we? Stories are we ending? What stories are beginning? For today, I would invite us to look at where are we in the messy, in the unknown, in the middle of a story. What are the stories where we are completely in the water and swimming, and we're like, oh my God, we're not at the shore getting into the water or about to get out. We're like in the waves, and waves hit us, and life comes. We're in the middle of the story. If this doesn't resonate and you want to really feel like you have a beginning to share, because that's where you're at right now and you really want to share a beginning, then feel free to do that. If it's an ending you would like to share, do that as well. And there are 3 roles. Because as said at the beginning, it's not just the storytelling, it's also the story listening. The way we listen to stories enhances the story. Story sharing gets enhanced by the level of listening that's happening. So there are 3 roles: the storyteller, the person that shares their story of being in the messy middle of the unknown inside of the waves. Then we have the harvester. That's the person that can take some notes or has a piece of paper next to them and really listens to what's the essence, what's the golden nugget, what's the magic of the story, like really tries to condense, like grasp and capture the things. And then we have the witness, and I would like to share the witness, person that really is completely out of their own piece and completely with the other person, 100% present in the moment, listening to understand, not listening to respond, or I have that story too, okay, this is a solution. No solutions. There's nothing needs to be solved, especially in the messy middle. There are no answers or better ways to do it. That's not what we're doing here. One person has space to share, which is an amazing gift. One person listens to the magic and the essence of really what's being heard. And that's not about finding solutions. It's about what is the magic of the story? What is that you mirror it back? And the witness is really just 100% present with that person, listening in. So is it clear? Everybody clear with that piece? Then 15 to 20 minutes. I said 3 minutes sharing the story, 2 minutes mirroring back roughly, but I wanted to give us 20 minutes. That makes that we're done, that we still have 10 minutes to share in the big circle. So I might call us back after 15, 16 minutes or something around that. I will write everybody. I will join a room as well, I think. I'm not sure yet. A couple of people said they might have problems with their connections. So let's see.